Then how the heck do you function?
Energy and food. As long as we have both, we can pretty much be awake 24/7.
Once again, makes sense. The way that Matthew seemed relaxed about the whole thing made it seem like being here. Made it seem like being here. Okay, made it seem like he liked being here. Part of me was curious on whether or not he liked being in this world more than the human world, but I had to remember he went to the human world of his own accord. Besides, he was ready to marry me and live his entire life in my world. Matthew stretched and let out a groan before relaxing back on the bed sheets, letting out a small yawn.
Oh, I'm tired.
Didn't I, wake up not that long ago? I guess. Fuck it. I nodded, feeling exhaustion run over me, causing me to lie back and cuddle up to Matthew, nuzzling into his shoulder. He chuckled before wrapping an arm around me.
I love you so much.
Oh, gosh.
I promise we'll get
You
home
make
soon.
me blush, Matthew. Stop it. I smiled, kissing his cheek before closing my eyes and drifting to sleep. Tomorrow was going to be a long day, definitely. However, as I opened my eyes, I found myself not looking at Matthew or in my bed, but I felt cold ground beneath me and something tightly wrapped around my neck. Oh, fuck, not again. What the... this nightmare again? I looked down, seeing my skin dusty and dirty, which only added more confusion. What was happening to me? I reached up and gasped once more as I felt a familiar collar around my neck, a chain dangling from the front and running behind me. I instinctively grabbed the collar, trying to pull it from my neck, but as I did, something yanked the chain and connected to it, and caused me to fall back, knocking the wind out of me. Ah! I turned my head to the chain pole to see a familiar imp demon glaring down at me and gripping onto my chain. It was the same imp demon from the vision Matthew showed me when Diana came around, but how could this be? I quickly grabbed the chain and tried to yank it from his hands, wanting to be free, but found no strength to actually pull it from the imp's grasp. The imp merely crackled and pulled the chain again, making me fall forward onto my stomach. Ugh. I froze. This was another dream, and I could tell that Matthew was going to be the villain once again. My mind began to panic as I scrambled up to my hands and knees, looking around at the predicament I was in. I was in a large steel cage. My chain hung out between the bars in the hands of an imp guarding my cell. I had no neighbors, nor did I hear anyone else in the space with me. This was definitely a dream, and I needed to wake up before Matthew came around. Who knew what he would do with me? This was a dream, after all. I looked around the room, slowing my breath and trying to think logically. What could I do? The first thing was to do something about the chain around my neck, then I could try and break the door down somehow and be free. Seemed like a good idea, I guess. It kind of was a very vague idea. I quickly grabbed the chain again and swiveled on the ground to be on my bottom, locking my feet against the door and pulling the chain back. I managed to get some purchase, and luckily the imp couldn't manage to pull me forward from my struggle. Oh shit. A large bolt of red lightning suddenly traveled down my chain and shocked the collar on my neck, causing me to release a soundless scream. My body became electrocuted, and red light and energy sending waves of pain through every part of me. As he finally stopped, I let out a gasp and fell back on the ground, shaking from the aftermath. My body felt entirely jittery, and licks of pain brushed over my nerves from the shock. What the hell? I could barely look over at the imp from the pain I was feeling, seeing him smirk as to what he had done. However, as soon as I saw the grin appear on its ugly lips, a foot jammed into the side of the imp's head, causing it to buckle over. Huh?
You fucking pig fawn! What did you do?
Pig fawn. That's his demon farm, by the way. We didn't see that yet, I don't think. My eyes glanced over to see Matthew on his demon farm, glaring daggers at the fallen imp with his foot jammed into his cheek. As he looked at me, still angered with a snarl across his expression, I gasped, seeing the familiar cold gold color over his eyes. The evil Matthew had returned. Gingerly, Matthew took up the chain and pulled me to the door, leaning in and keeping the chain beneath his head so he could bring my head as close to him as he could without me being pulled against the bars on the door. He's a little mad, I think. Staring into his eyes, I was surprised to feel calm and almost hopeful that maybe this was a different Matthew, one who wasn't cruel and full of ill intent. And again, he kept me in the cell and didn't release me, so that was a sign that I was wrong. Despite this, he spoke calmly and almost comfortingly.
Did he hurt you?
Actually, a little bit. I'm having a seizure over here because of all that electricity. Fucking twitching all over the place. But, you know what? I think I'll get over it. I'll be fine. Of course, I nodded. Whatever electrocution the imp had done made me feel like I was dying for a split moment. Matthew, in response to my reply, glared at the imp with a deadly pair of eyes, causing the victim in question to sleep back against the wall.
I order you not to hurt her. If she's hurt, then she can't give me proper energy.
Oh, well, that's fucked up.
I
actually thought you cared.
This world properly. Do you know how much of a problem that would be?
Oh, God, that sounded not good. The imp opened his mouth to protest, but as soon as he did, Matthew formed a knife in the air and chucked it into his open mouth, a splash of blood erupting from behind the imp's head as the knife embedded itself into the back of his throat. Wow, okay, he's a little fucking mad. With a garbled whimper, the imp slowly collapsed to the ground, dying at last. I, however, could only watch horrified with my hands over my mouth. What was going on? Matthew turned back to me and pulled my chain slightly, causing me to look back at him with fearful eyes.
There! Now he won't hurt you anymore.
Thanks, I guess? This, fucking chain around my neck is a little tight. Could you not pull it like that? Why are you doing this? Let me go. Matthew's face slowly shifted to a cold, sadistic glare.
I would. But how will I know that you won't run away from me?
I definitely would, honestly. But I probably shouldn't be honest in this moment, huh? I began to panic. I wanted to be free. I wanted to run, but Matthew here wasn't going to let me go, and I didn't want to stay in the cell any longer. Despite every fiber in my body wanting to be awakened, I couldn't. Oh. Shit, does this affect anything? Oh, okay. Well, I know promising something won't... I know me just promising, I don't think that'll do anything. I think if I'm going just for the fact of him hearing what he wants to hear and then taking the chance when I get it to run, it would probably be that, but I'm also a little nervous about saying that at this moment. I guess I'll say that. This was crazy. He had me as a prisoner, a slave to his whim. However, he seemed to care enough about me to kill someone for hurting me. No, I'm pretty sure he killed him because he didn't want you to be hurt because he needs your energy. He kind of explained that, but we'll go with that. It was worth a shot. Matthew, however, let out almost a bark of a laugh. Yeah, that was a fucking bad choice. Okay. Yeah, okay.
Me, king of the demon world?
Yeah, probably should have thought about that.
Like hell I will. Besides, even if I made you a succubus, your energy would be wasted.
Okay, well, that was a bad choice. I don't think any of the choices would have done me anything anyways, so... Fuck. My heart broke into pieces, but my anger flared. This was not my Matthew. I gripped to the bars and snarled through them at my captor, imagining the man in front of me as a stranger and not as the man I loved. What is wrong with you? Let me go! A violent cackle erupted from Matthew as he leaned close to me, pulling my chain harder to pull me against the door.
That's okay. Get angry. You know what they say. Angry sex is always the best.
Okay, I guess they do say that, but, wow, okay, alright. Let's, move past that real quick. I snarled even harder, disgusted at his words. This was not the man I loved, nor would he ever be in my dreams. Matthew only let out a chuckle as he finally drew back and slid his hand up to the end of my chain.
I'm not in the mood to take your energy now. I'll come back another time.
You do that then. With a flash of blue energy, the chain in his hand vanished and reappeared above me, giving me enough slack to let me lie down, but only if I was directly underneath it. I grimaced and pulled at the chain, wanting to still be free from it, but only heard the chuckle of Matthew's cruel sadism, as he turned and began to walk away.
You better be prepared when I get back. I've got a world to rule after all. Can't spend all my time. Oh my god,
okay. Well then. This is a very interesting turn of events. A violent quake ran through my body and I began to struggle harder, making him laugh as he left the hall out of my sight. Let me go! Let me go! I shut my eyes tightly, pulling and tugging as much as I could. Despite it being to no avail, I screamed once again, this time breaking the illusion around me and waking up at last. Oh, okay, good, we woke up. Hopefully we won't have another dream like this, because I don't know what's going to happen next, honestly. Jesus. I'm not going to scream again. I sat up, screaming through the air as my hands clasped themselves around my neck. My scream reverberated throughout the room, barely letting me notice Matthew falling out of the... Now, okay, hold on a second. It feels like I only have these dreams when fucking Matthew's sleeping next to me. Like, I didn't have the dream when I took a nap earlier. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just grasping at straws here. Sorry, that's my bad. My bad, bro. Okay. I quickly looked over at the sound of a hard thump on the ground, seeing Matthew's curly head peek up from over the side of the bed. His hand ran over his hair as a pained groan escaped his lips. You okay there? You okay? Oh my god! Oh, you shirtless again. Ignoring what had just happened to me, I scrambled across the bed and slid off of the bed to kneel beside Matthew. Luckily, he wasn't badly hurt, but he rubbed his head obviously disoriented from falling out of the bed. To add more insult to injury, Simon had crawled down from the mantel and began to poke at Matthew with his mini knife. That's fucked up, Simon. Thankfully, the knife wasn't actually sharp, so all it did was prod and poke at Matthew's skin without drawing blood. Fuck out of here, Simon, you dick.
Simon! Simon, knock it off!
Matthew flailed his arms, almost knocking Simon away with his hand. Taking the hint, Simon jumped onto the bed and began to hop around on top of it as his own distraction while he looked at Matthew. I'm so sorry. Are you okay?
Huh? Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine. Oh.
Your nipples are kind of weird looking. Like, okay, let's move on from that. Matthew grimaced, stretching his back and neck before shaking his head and looking up at me, slightly bleary-eyed from sleep.
Are you okay? Or did you have another nightmare?
No, I just felt like it would be really nice to scream at 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't know, it's just kind of my thing. Jesus. I looked down at the ground between us, remembering the nightmare I was trapped in. I could only nod, pressing my lips together, causing Matthew to frown.
I'm sorry. Do you want
yeah, hugs are always nice. I would like a hug. Yes, why would I say no? I love hugs. Despite the nightmare, I still loved Matthew and needed him with me. I knew the dreams I was having weren't real, and even if they were trying to warn me of something, Matthew was still the man I was going to be married to. Yeah, they're just dreams. And even if they're future premonitions, this Matthew is still the cool, lovey guy you love. The man I was going to be married to. Matthew smiled softly before swiveling onto his knees and hugging me to his body, laying my head on his shoulder. I wrapped my arms around him and closed my eyes, taking in his reassuring scent. As a sudden knock appeared at our door, however, Matthew and I shot our heads in the direction of the sound.
Oi! Time to wake up! We got grub!
Oh, it looks like we woke up at just the right time, eh?
Ugh, can you not call it that?
Matthew and I looked at each other before scrambling up onto the bed, forgetting that Simon was on it. I slid across the bed and sat down, trying to make it seem like I had just woken up, as Matthew tried to crawl over but wound up making Simon release a heavy squeak. Why? Like, what? Okay.
Ah!
Once again, Matthew fell off the bed, god damn it, and landed on the floor, releasing another shout of pain.
Is everything alright in there?
Oh, yep, it's perfectly fine.
We're fine! We're fine.
Jesus. Simon, cackling at Matthew's mistake, scrambled up back onto the fireplace mantel and became a doll once more as I cleared my throat. Come in! As the door opened, Matthew threw himself onto the mattress, placing his head on his hand like he had completely planned to kneel beside the bed as his brother and their wives entered with plates of food in their hands. Why are we all eating in here? Isn't there a fucking, dining room? Damien and Twila, that's a really weird name, the ones who were carrying extra plates of food, stopped and stared at us with raised eyebrows. We weren't having sex, I promise. Damien, of course, looked over at the mantel at Simon before smiling and shaking his head, passing his extra plate to Matthew.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Matthew.
Here you go.
Thanks, girl. Oh, thank you. Twila placed her extra plate in my hands and smiled before walking over to an empty space with Damien and eating. On the plates were sliced fruits, bread, cheese, and some sort of jerky. It seems like a decent breakfast, I guess. James and Sam, however, were the only ones who didn't start indulging in what was on the menu.
So, we have less than a week to prepare for
That
the
is
funeral.
true. What are we doing, you guys? How are we preparing ourselves?
You know, fuck me. I'm excited
Jesus.
as shit to finally get to kick his ass into the ground.
Oh, Sam. I don't know why, but maybe it's just me. I like Matthew more for his appearance. His personality is cute and that's adorable and stuff, but I have always liked guys with dark hair and blue eyes. And then I like Sam because of his attitude. Like, I've always liked guys that are like, they stick up for themselves and they're like, fuck you, whatever. They don't take any shit. That's the kind of people I like. So that's why I kind of always pick Matthew and Sam first, because they're like my two favorites. Matthew because of his personality, or not his personality, Matthew because of his looks, and Sam because of his personality. That's just what I'm into, man. Everyone's got something they're into. The other brothers seemed to agree, even Matthew. However, I was stuck on the nightmare the night before. I unconsciously rubbed my neck, remembering the feel of the collar around my neck. Doing so caught Iridissa's attention.
Hey, what's wrong?
Oh, no.
you hurt your neck?
I pulled a muscle. I instantly looked up and stared, seeing everyone now look at me in curiosity. I shook my head violently, not wanting anything to know, not wanting anything to know, anyone to know what happened. I'm fine. The wives seemed unconvinced, but they nodded anyways. The boys, however, focused on the battle ahead of us.
So, do we plan on training like we usually do?
Oh, yeah, why not?
That seems to be the best plan. It's been a long time since we've actually fought in a battle.
I would think so.
Have you fought in one before?
Yeah. The boys, despite the shame in their eyes, nodded slowly in unison.
Part of us living in our father's castle involved receiving the occasional unexpected visitor.
Yeah.
Holy crap, man. I remember one time there was this group that just stormed in and tried to take on the old man, but he sent James to take care of him. I'd never seen James so
Wow,
pissed off
okay.
before.
That's because they threatened to burn the castle down if I didn't surrender. Obviously, that was out of the question.
So their wives haven't seen them fight before, I guess. I still don't know. Like, I know the one with the horns is obviously not a human, but is she like a human? She looks like a human.
Well, Sam, what about you when you got into those fights with the army generals? They weren't too happy about you being so testy with them.
Jesus,
They got cocky and thought they could push me around. Fuck them and good riddance.
God damn it, Sam. The more I listened, the more the battle story seemed more about James, Eric, and Sam. Damien obviously stayed out of fighting, but what about Matthew? I looked to Matthew, seeing him simply eat his food, staring down at his plate. Did he have nothing to add to the conversation? I am kind of curious. Matthew looked up to me in surprise, a piece of jerky wedged between his teeth and lips. I'm sorry, I'm curious. I can't, I'm sorry. We're gonna be married, I just want to know, you know?
Huh?
Jesus Christ. I fought back giggling at the sight, but as everyone turned over and looked at Matthew, I relaxed a bit and waited. I was curious to see if Matthew had any stories of his own to tell. To my surprise, Matthew swallowed the jerky in his mouth and shook his head.
No, I wasn't the
I
fighting
figured as
type.
much, okay.
Never have been, really.
My mind flashed back to him fighting Malix and how he managed to not only duck and dodge Malix's gun, but also make Swiss cheese out of the devil in question. Why would Matthew lie? Oh yeah, that did happen from the last game. I almost forgot about that. Well, you kind of huh, that is weird. Huh. Matthew, what the fuck, man? Well, wait, why did I even bother asking if I already knew the answer? I guess, fuck it, whatever. Sam scoffed and spit into the fireplace, making us all look over at him.
What a crock of bullshit, Pipsqueak.
Bullshit!
Damn.
What the hell is that supposed to mean?
Matthew, it's so rare when you curse.
Don't fucking play dumb with me. I remember you massacring an entire gang of Vince because they looked at your mom funny. I was the one who had to clean that shit up.
Wow. Okay, Matthew, damn. I suddenly went wide-eyed at Matthew, who in turn stared right at me with a fearful frown on his face. He got into fights here? I guess it was expected of a demon to at least get into one fight in their life, but Matthew and a massacre?
No, it wasn't like that. It wasn't me.
It wasn't you? Okay, now I'm a little worried. What do you have like split personalities? Is that what's going on in my dreams?
Like hell it wasn't.
Dude, shut up!
Make me!
Uh-oh. Okay, let's calm down.
I will!
Okay. This is not what I wanted to happen. Alright. Sam and Matthew jumped out of their seats and marched at each other, slamming their foreheads together and snarling, fire burning in each other's eyes. I quickly rushed up and pulled at Matthew's arm, trying to bring him back to bed. Matthew, calm down!
Sam, knock it off!
Despite Carrie also pulling Sam's arm, neither of us could pull our incubus away from the other as they battled each other with their eyes. The air in the room became full of tense energy until, suddenly, both of the boys were swatted over the head.
Fuck!
Fuck! Jesus Christ.
Ow! Both of you! That's enough!
Ah, James, you're always the reasonable one. I looked up to see James holding his fist that he used to sock his brothers with a glare pointed all over his face. Matthew and Sam looked up at their eldest brother, both irritated at being hit, but silent enough to know not to talk back. A moment passed before Sam stood up straight and shook his head, finally allowing Carrie to pull him back to a spot where they could sit down.
Whatever.
Jesus. Matthew, you're not even wearing a shirt yet, bro. You might want to put a shirt on. There's like 50 people in here. Matthew, on the other hand, straightened up and continued to glare at James, almost in defiance. Something sparked in his eyes, something that made me worried, so I pulled his arm back, trying to catch his attention. Hey, come on. Matthew finally looked at me, slowly receding back to his normal gaze before nodding and rubbing his head over the newly formed bruise while sitting down beside me.
Well, this is an interesting family reunion.
Have you been standing there the whole time, Diana? Diana's voice suddenly made all of us turn to the door to see her and Serio in the doorway with Diana leaning against the archway. As she pushed off and stepped in, Serio followed and closed the door.
Can we help you?
Possibly, if you all want to survive this war and go home. Especially you, my dear.
You talking to me? Diana looked over to me and crossed her arms under her bosom. What did she mean? Well, we already fucking know what that means. What do you mean? What does she mean? Diana ran a hand through her hair and looked around the room, pressing her lips into a fine line.
So, about all of you participating in the war, you all obviously
Definitely.
need to train.
More training needed. Everyone nodded in agreement to Diana's statement. While we weren't battle ready, we still needed to at least know how to defend ourselves. Diana, however, looked at me.
You, most of all.
Okay, thanks for throwing me out there, but sure, you're right, I guess. Huh? Me? Yeah, you're... Okay. I was suddenly confused. How come I was the odd one out that had to be ready the most? The last thing I remembered about me training was that Diana was against the idea altogether. You're the odd one out, because as far as I can tell, you're the only human, so you're at the most of a disadvantage. I don't know if the others are human or not. Diana sighed and rubbed her temple.
Apparently, there are guidelines to breaking this curse. Not only do we have to kill the Demon Lord, but you have to be nearby when it happens for the curse to even break.
So if I'm not, I'm still fucked. Okay. That makes no sense. Where did you learn this?
Shadow. He spent the night trying to find alternative ways to break your curse. Unfortunately, we didn't find anything of the
Well,
sort.
it's good that we know that now
We
and
found the guidelines
not
to
know it at
break
all, I suppose. Well, it still makes no sense.
Even while it doesn't, it's still better to be safe than sorry. I don't want to kill him and then still have you stuck here.
That
because
is
of an error.
100% true. So either way, I would have had to come to the war anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered if I agreed or not. I could only sigh and take it in, so I had to be there when the Demon Lord fell. Great. Diana waved her hand dismissively through the air, breaking my potential thoughts.
Anyway, we can't have you dying on the way there, and we can't monitor you when we're in battle. You should at least know how to defend yourself.
I agree, 100%.
That's why we've come up with a solution.
And that is?
Huh? What solution?
Simple. The other rebel leaders and Sero have agreed that if you'd like a trainer to enhance your abilities,
Okay, well that's
you can
okay.
train with one of them.
I stared, seeing Sero step forward with a nod.
Each of the leaders is proficient in a different area of magic and battle strategy.
Oh, who do I
Good
want to
enough
train
for
with?
self-defense. I can't speak for the others, but I can assure you that with Sero's skill and training methods, you will be well prepared by the time the siege arrives.
Sero nodded and bowed to me slightly. While I was flattered at the idea, did I really need a trainer? I knew Taekwondo. That's you're fighting a bunch of fucking demons, are you stupid? And I at least knew how to defend myself, demon or not. Then again, we were in the demon world. Yes. What the fuck? What would the others teach me? Oh shit. What would the others teach me? Diana ran a hand through her hair, looking to the side as she listed off each leader and their skills.
Sergeant is a brute demon, bred from a nomadic tribe. He most likely teach you the ways of the brute demon, using your fists and speed to keep you alive.
Speed might be important. So they're gonna train me to use magic. I can use magic. We did it before.
Shadow is, by definition, a shadow demon. So he'd probably teach you about dark magic, light manipulation, and assassination.
Stealth would probably be better, since I wouldn't be as powerful.
Rabbit is a wild magic-based animal demon, using her animal-focused energy as her weapon. She'd probably teach you how to do the same.
That sounds interesting, but I'm not sure about that.
Faye? I am honestly not sure. I know they can change their size and use elemental magic as well. But to be honest,
That all
I do
sounds
not know
really
what they
fucking
would
good.
teach you.
I really don't know which one I would pick. Oh shit, okay. I definitely do need a trainer. Let's choose... I'm feeling like Shadow would be better, because I feel like Stealth would be better to go, because obviously I'm not going to be as strong as everyone, even if I do train for a week, because I'm not a demon that I know of. And so it would be best if I learned stealth moves and did things stealthily and I don't just go full brute. That's what I think, so I'm gonna go Shadow. Diana nodded. Shadow seemed very intelligent and knew the ins and outs of being sneaky and dodgy. It would definitely help in battle not to get hit and maybe take enemies by surprise. That's what I'm saying. With that, Diana turned on her heel and left the room.
Finish eating. Afterwards, you should start training.
Okay, got it, boss. Everyone in the room nodded their affirmation as Diana and Sarah left.
Well, it looks like we'll be busy for the next couple of days.
Yeah,
This'll be fun.
I guess.
Man, training's gonna suck.
It'll be worth it, though.
Oh, of course.
Damien's right.
As we all finished eating, everyone left to either train or do things on their own. I left to start my own work, determined to be prepared for what was to come. The Demon Lord wasn't going to win. I wouldn't let him. Choosing Shadow defied almost every part of my moral compass. He seemed like a fantastical sociopath, lacking care for anyone but the Warren himself. Still, I had to admit his personality made me curious about his abilities. My choice had nothing to do with his personality, it had to do entirely with the stealth, but okay. After all, he was the one that almost sent me back home through Diana's shadow. As the memory of the void filled my thoughts, I began to try and dissect how it was done. Were Shadow's doorways here? Was Shadow just that powerful? How exactly was he able to a person's shadow into a void through the world? That also might be a good thing. If I go with him, maybe I'll be able to learn how to open a portal myself. Who fucking knows? Maybe that was the reason I chose him as my trainer. My curiosity about his abilities were pecking at me and I needed answers. Learning some of those abilities myself was just the icing on the cake. Hey, boy! I was guided to the library by a scout, most likely under orders, and found Shadow reading through scrolls on the table near the fireplace. Upon me entering, Shadow looked over.
Oh, there you are. Come.
You already knew I was
Sit.
coming? Okay. Yes, sir. Shadow motioned a hand towards one of the seats almost dismissively as he continued to pore over what he was reading. I followed his directions and sat down in the chair, watching him. For a full minute, he said nothing. I watched as he read each line off the scroll before him and occasionally switched scrolls to read what the others had written down on them. The handwriting was in hastily scribbled Latin, so there was no way for me to understand it. However, I began to feel a little agitated. Weren't we supposed to be training? I needed to get his attention. This was a little ridiculous. Was he not told that he was supposed to actually train me? Why would he expect me, though? Despite my statement, Shadow continued to ignore me and kept browsing through the scrolls on the table. Shadow? Still, nothing. I was becoming even more agitated at the silence. I decided to simply stand up, hopefully to catch his attention. However, as I attempted to, I felt myself unable to push off against the chair, like I was stuck to the seat. Huh? I looked down at the chair I was in. It was a simple chair. How was I stuck? I wiggled a bit in my seat, noting that I wasn't sitting on anything sticky, nor was anything keeping me down physically. What the hell? He's using your shadow, bitch! I attempted to stand once more, unable to move any farther than a centimeter up from the seat before needing to sit back down.
Do you understand now, human?
Yeah, I get it. I get it. You're a tough bitch. I looked up at Shadow, seeing him continue to visually ignore me, but noticed a small smirk on his lips. He was holding me down somehow?
When you can stand, we will begin.
Okay. My eyes widened. This was a test. This was an unfair trap of a test that I fell into, and now I had to find my way out. I had to figure out how he was trapping me to the chair and stand. This was going to be an adventure and a half. I looked down and around my body on the seat, seeing my shadow beneath me. It was pretty obvious that he was using my shadow to hold me down, like I said. But the question was, how was I going to break its hold? I took a moment and let my thoughts dissect the problem. He was holding me by the shadow. He had to have been. It only made sense. If I somehow made my shadow disappear, then his hold would vanish along with it. There's a fireplace. However, how was I going to do that? My shadow was beneath me, formed by the shape of my body and the firelight. Then it hit me. The firelight. I looked at the fireplace, seeing it burn bright from the pier within its mouth. It illuminated the room and gave every person and object a shadow. As I stared into it, my plan became set. I smirked as I gripped my arm set and planted my feet onto the floor. I pulled the chair up onto one of its legs, pushing off the ground with my foot, and completely turned the chair around, facing away from it. My entire body became covered in shadow, but I knew my plan had worked. I no longer felt a hold on me, keeping me in the chair. My shadow vanished in the new darkness around me. I figured that out really fucking fast, honestly. You're gonna have to do better tests than that, sir. I quickly pushed off of the chair, finally being able to stand. It seemed so freeing to be able to stand again, having been trapped in that chair. You were literally trapped for like, what, 5 fucking seconds? As I felt my body standing up straight, Shadow let out an impressed,
Quicker than I anticipated.
Yeah. I'm smart. Smarticle. I glared. Did he honestly think that little of me? I was in no mood for this. Apparently, I had been wrong about Shadow. He was just an asshole. I turned and left the room, shaking my head. I was better off training on my own than... Okay, well, I kind of didn't want to do that. Did I really just leave? Okay, fuck. I just didn't want to yell at him, honestly, but okay. Exhausted and tired, I marched to my room and opened the door, surprised to see Matthew already there. I really hope I got something from that. Otherwise, I feel like I just wasted my fucking time, honestly. Huh? Matthew? Oh. Matthew? You okay, pal? However, what was odd about him being in the room was not that he was there before me, but that he was staring at the fire, eyes glazed over in almost a pale blue tint. Something was going on. I feel like he's got a split personality or something. I'm a little confused. I'm a little worried here. I walked over and placed my hand on Matthew's shoulder, slowly walking around him to look directly into his eyes. It was almost creepy to see, but he seemed almost dead. Matthew. I gently shook his body, trying to snap him out of whatever trance he was under, but gasped as I spotted a blue ring around his neck. As I did, the air around me became colder and a little darker. What was going on? Panicked, I look around, trying to pin down what was causing this. Matthew's voice brought me back to him, hearing his voice droll out of his mouth like an emotionless doll. I gripped Matthew's shoulder tightly and shook him again. Matthew! Still nothing. Well, I don't want to hit him, like, I had to break him out of whatever spell was consuming his mind, and there was no way in hell I was gonna smack him. Yeah, like, I'd feel kind of bad. I was just saying. Instead, took his head into my hands and pulled him into a kiss, locking lips with him and shutting my eyes. I didn't understand what made me do this, but I was determined to make it work. I waited and waited until finally Matthew wrapped his arms around me and leaned into the kiss, letting me know he possibly broke through. Yeah, I would feel horrible if I smacked Matthew. He's like the innocent one, like the super innocent one out of all of them. I feel like I just like punched a baby or something. I opened my eyes slightly to see his eyes closed, but his arms around my waist were secure and loving, just like how I remembered. As I slowly pulled away, Matthew opened his eyes and revealed their lovely ocean blue color. Perfect. However, his cheeks were a lovely contrast of red.
Hi.
You don't remember what happened? Okay, well, that makes sense, I guess. I smiled a bit, giggling. Hey, what happened? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I was just looking at the fire. It's pretty warm.
There was a little more to it than that. Just saying. You might be a little shocked. Let's say this slowly now. Every part of me didn't believe him. Then again, something was wrong, and maybe Matthew was becoming a victim of it. I frowned and cupped his cheek, making him lean into it slightly. Are you sure? You looked like you were possessed. Matthew frowned his eyebrows, unsure, or furrowed his eyebrows, unsure of what I meant. Did he really not remember? I now became concerned, desperate to know answers. Why was he acting so strangely? Matthew took my hands in his and held them gently, rubbing his thumbs over the tops of my hands.
Hey, is everything all right?
That's what I'm asking you, man. I mean, I'm good. You, on the other hand, don't seem good. I don't know. I almost glared. That was what I had asked him. I wasn't crazy. I knew that something was off and I had to try to figure out what. I squeezed Matthew's hands instead. Matthew, I'm serious. You were staring at the fire and your eyes just looked glazed and stuff. Pressing his lips together, he looked down, trying to discern what I meant as if he didn't do what I had suggested he did. I pulled his hands, now worried. I didn't want him to assume I was making things up. You believe me, right? Matthew stared into my eyes, reading them as he nodded.
I do. I
yeah,
do.
why the fuck would I lie about this, honestly?
I don't know how to respond. I mean, I don't remember being in a trance.
Okay, well, first you can respond by thinking, okay, well, something's obviously wrong, and second, we need to fix it. As he said that, however, he suddenly curled over and held his head, hissing in pain. Oh, fuck, okay. Oh, no. Matthew? Quickly, Matthew collapsed onto his knees and gripped his head, digging his fingers into his hair as I followed him down. Now, I know for sure, something was definitely wrong. I cut Matthew's face, trying to read his expression and trying to figure out what was wrong just from sight. A moment passed before Matthew let out a gasp of a breath, opening his eyes wide and panting for some fresh air to enter his lungs. His eyes painted his fear, as if he had just encountered a nightmare within the moment that passed. Matthew, what happened? Matthew wouldn't speak, furrowing his brows and shaking his head.
I heard someone calling to me.
Okay, this is getting way out of hand, like super out of hand right now. I'm freaking out right now. Calling to you? Like when I heard that voice calling your name in my head? For a moment, I believed it to be his mother. Maybe he was hearing what I had heard in the human world, but why didn't I hear it anymore? It made no sense. Matthew shook his head and gritted his teeth.
It sounded like my mother.
What the fuck is happening right now?
How could she?
I took Matthew's hand and held them to my chest, catching his attention. Hey, let's go ask the others about this. It's not too late to go talk to them. Matthew suddenly shook his head and took his hands from mine, grasping my shoulders.
It's all right, really. I don't need their help. We can figure this out on our own.
I mean, okay. Matthew? I had a really bad feeling about the situation. Matthew was getting put in trances, then getting headaches and hearing his mother's voice. Why was he so reluctant to get help from his brothers? I'm gonna have to insist, because I don't know about this. This was too mysterious and dangerous. We needed the help. Matthew, we need to...
Please, just trust me.
Oh,
okay?
God, you're gonna pull that card. Okay. Fine. Matthew stared deep into my eyes, pleading silently for me to trust him. I bit my lip, still not completely sure that this was the right choice. As I slowly let out a whine of complaints, Matthew gripped harder on my shoulders, not enough to hurt me, but enough to emphasize his point.
Please.
Okay. Matthew seemed adamant. I swallowed my nerves and nodded slowly, taking in a breath and letting out a sigh. Matthew leaned forward and kissed my forehead, thankful that I was willing to trust him. However, trust wasn't the issue. I trusted Matthew very much. What I didn't trust was whatever was trying to influence him and hurt him. I didn't just want to leave this in the dark, and I didn't want us to hit a wall with this that could potentially hurt Matthew more or make him do something even more odd. I grimaced before standing up, helping Matthew up as well. Come on, let's head to bed. How many times do we go to sleep in a day? Like, it really hasn't been that much. Okay, sure. Good night. Mwah.